You ever stop and think about how we actually talk to computers? It's really just like learning a brand new language, one with its own unique grammar and vocabulary. And in this explainer, we're going to learn the basics of that language using one of the most popular ones out there, Python.
I mean, maybe you've dreamed of building the next big mobile game, or designing a gorgeous website, or maybe just creating a simple app to make your life a little easier. Whatever that dream is, the journey always starts in the exact same place.
That's right. When you strip it all down, programming is really just about communication. It's all about giving a computer a set of instructions that are so precise, so clear, that it knows exactly what you want it to do.
And you know what? That's our mission for the next few minutes. No super complex theories, no confusing jargon. We're just going to have a simple, straightforward, first conversation with the computer. So let's get into it.
So first things first, why do we even need a special language? I mean, why can't we just talk to them? Well, it turns out computers think in a really, really different way than we do. We need a translator, and for what we're doing today, Python is pretty much the perfect choice.
Okay, so look at this. This really gets to the heart of the problem. On the left, you have an idea, a concept, right? Greet the world. That's how we think. But computers, they don't get concepts. They need exact step-by-step instructions. Like what you see on the right, our entire job as programmers is to become fluent in translating our ideas into those exact instructions.
So why Python? Why is everyone always talking about it for beginners? Well, first, it's high level, which is just a fancy way of saying its code is much closer to plain English. Second, it's interpreted. This is a huge help when you're learning, because it means the computer checks your code one line at a time, making it easier to spot mistakes. And finally, it's dynamically typed, which gives us a ton of flexibility to play around without getting bogged down in a bunch of strict rules right away.
You know, every language has its rules of grammar, and Python's no different. But there's one rule that is more important than all the others. And oh man, this rule trips up everyone when they're starting out. So let's just tackle it head on.
Yep, we're talking about indentation. Now, in a lot of other languages, you add spaces or tabs at the beginning of a line just to make it look neat and tidy. In Python, it's the whole ballgame. Those spaces are the structure. They tell the computer what code belongs together. So, and this is the key, it is absolutely 100% not optional.
And here's what it looks like when you do it right. It's actually super simple. See that little bit of space before the word print? That space, that indentation, tells Python, hey, this print command belongs to the if statement right above it. It's saying only print this message if 5 is actually greater than 2. That space literally creates the logic.
But what happens if you forget it? Boom, this. Without that indentation, Python has no idea how these two lines of code are related. It gets totally confused, and your program stops dead with something called an indentation error. I'm telling you, this is one of the most common errors for newcomers, but now you know exactly what causes it and what to look for. All right, grammar rule number 1, check. Now, every language needs vocabulary, right? The nouns, the words we use to talk about things. So how do we get a program to actually remember stuff like, say, a user's name or your score in a game?
That's where variables come in. And honestly, the best way to think of a variable is just as a labeled box. That's it. You put a piece of information inside the box, you slap a name on the outside, and anytime you need what's inside, you just call it by its name. Simple as that.
And the stuff you can put inside these boxes comes in a few basic flavors. You've got integers, or ints, for any whole numbers. You've got floats, for any numbers with a decimal point. You've got strings, which is basically any text you can imagine. And finally, booleans, which are just simple, logical, true or false values.
Okay, so we've got our grammar, we've got our nouns, our vocabulary. What's missing? Verbs, the action words. We need a way to actually do things with all this information we're storing. And in programming, we call these operators. And the good news is, they're probably exactly what you'd expect from math class. As you can see here, the plus sign is for addition, minus for subtraction, that little asterisk is for multiplication, and the forward slash is for division.
Pretty intuitive, right?
Okay, pause. This next one is huge. It's a classic rookie mistake, and I want to make sure you see it coming. A single equals sign is not asking a question, it's giving an order. Age equals 25 is what we call the assignment operator. It sets the age to 25. The double equals sign, double equals, that's the comparison operator. That one asks the question, hey, is the age equal to 25? Getting those two mixed up can cause some really sneaky bugs.
All right, we have the grammar, we have the vocabulary, we have the verbs. I think it's time. Let's put all these pieces together and actually have that first conversation we talked about.
You know, a simple conversation with a computer is really just a three-step dance. First, the program has to listen. It gets information from the user with the input function. Second, it needs to remember that info by putting it into a variable, our labeled box. And finally, it replies using the print function to show a message on the screen. Listen, remember, reply.
But this is where you'll run into your first, let's call it, misunderstanding with the computer. When the input function gets your age, it doesn't see it as a number. It sees it as text, a string. So when you then try to add the number 5 to it, the computer just throws its hands up. This is a type error. It's basically like trying to do the math problem, hello plus 5. It just doesn't work. The secret, as you learn, is that you have to tell the computer to convert that text into a number first.
And you know what? That little error, that little misunderstanding brings us to maybe the most important lesson of all. Seeing an error message doesn't mean you failed. Not at all. It's the whole point of the game. Like this quote says, programming isn't really about knowing all the answers, it's about getting good at figuring things out. It's a puzzle.
So I want to leave you with this question. You now have the absolute fundamental building blocks, the basic words, the basic grammar, to give a computer a simple command. So what would you do? What would that first conversation be about? What's the first problem you'd want it to solve for you? Because from here, the possibilities are just getting started.